kind of here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about this idea of building kingdoms. And we talk about building a kingdom, what comes to mind? Like, what do you think about that? What comes to mind when you think about building a kingdom? And a lot of times we'll think about like a business tycoon like Donald Trump, right, who has a kingdom. Or actually we'll think about someone like a politician who's building a political kingdom, all right? But what about you guys? What about our little kingdoms we build up? Have you ever thought about that? What are we actually investing our time, our energy, our money into? Thought about like what are you investing most of your resources into in your world? You know, like it could be your retirement. It could be like, you know, if I just kind of endure just another year, another 5 years, another 10 years, I'll be retired. It could be your family. All right, like my kingdom is my family. Like that just matters to me more than anything in the world. My kids, how they're raised, their futures, their successes. It could be possessions. It could be a house. My wife and I, we bought a house about a year and a half ago. And we moved from Surrey, and we never thought we'd be able to own a home, right? We're like, we just can never afford to own a house, but actually moved to Salmon Arm. We're like, wow, it's actually somewhat affordable to live in Salmon Arm. And we bought a house. And what's the first thing you do when you buy a house, right? We did some renos, right? Like, we want to make it our own, right? We want to make it our own little kind of kingdom. And actually, a few months ago, we had our life group over, and in our life group, we took them for a tour of our house, and one of our friends said, hey, you know, like, we were down in our basement, and he's like, hey, is this your man cave? And I was like, I don't know, is this my man cave? Like, that's a thing, right, I guess, like, a man cave? And I was like, is this really important? Is my house really important to us? Like, that important, that it's, like, mine, like, that, you know, that there's certain rooms dedicated to, I don't know. And so actually, about a month later, I had my grade A boys, my small group. So just imagine 10 to 12 grade A boys in my basement, all right? And we're playing video games and hanging out. And one of the boys decides, for some reason, to bring a huge, big gulp cup, all right? That's just what grade A boys do. And he bought this huge, big gulp cup, and we're having pizza and pop, and he's pouring pop into it, and he just spills it. It was like watching like a tsunami over the floor. Like, it was like, oh my goodness, right? Like, what are we going to do? And then, you know, these boys just like, they're putting pizza everywhere, like on the counters, on the floor. You know, it made me realize, like, you know what? We're okay with this. Like, I'm okay with actually using our house for ministry. It's not actually that much of an idol in my life as maybe I thought it was. You know, like, but it is frustrating, right? When you do these renos and things get damaged and get nicked and floors get damaged, and it makes you realize the things that we actually value the most in our lives, the idols we have, the ways that we actually build up our own kingdoms. Today we're talking about kingdoms, and the question is, whose kingdom are you building? It's yours, or is it Christ's? And we're stuck in John still, so John 18. And we're at the very end of this chapter, so this is the last time you'll be in John 18. All right, so that's my promise to you. And so John 18, verse 33. And so we'd love for you to flip there. John chapter 18, verse 33 is where we're going to start. And the church Bible is page 588. So if you flip there, that'd be great. All right, so John 18, 33. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this on your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "I am a Jew. Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews, but my kingdom is not of this world." Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I'm a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I've come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said this to him, "What is truth?" After he said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him, but you have a custom that I should release one man to you at the Passover. So you do not want me to release to you the king of the Jews." They cried out again, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. All right, so this passage here, there's this guy named Pilate. He was appointed governor by Emperor Tiberius in 26 AD and held the post for 10 years. And he experienced extreme, difficult relationships with the Jewish population. He's exposed in 36 AD and sent back to Rome, where he probably wanted to be. Like, you probably don't want to be leading these Jewish people because they're really unruly, right? And what happens is Pilate's faced here with two revolutionaries. All right, two revolutionaries in his day. One is Barabbas, all right, which actually Barabbas means Bar-Abbas, which means son of the father or son of a rabbi. All right, so the son of this rabbi became somewhat radicalized, all right, and then he went off and fought this war against Rome. That sounds very similar today, doesn't it? That there's people who follow a certain way and then they become radicalized, right? It could be called ISIS. Another revolutionary here is Jesus. All right? He states one simple thing which is very threatening to Pilate. It's King of the Jews. All right? This title here, King of the Jews, is it's threatening to Pilate. And Pilate brings Jesus in for questioning because he's a threat to his rule and a threat to Rome's occupation of Israel. He's the governor of the region. He needs to make sure that things in Israel don't actually get out of hand. And that was his whole role as governor, to make laws and to make people obey them. In the beginning of the passage, when the interrogation begins, Pilate says, "Are you king of the Jews?" And Jesus says, "Is that your own idea? Or did others talk to you about me?" What he's saying is, are you asking this because other people have told you you need to ask me this? Or are you actually really interested in yourself? Are you interested in who I am, Pilate? Not just the process, but are you interested? He's personally trying to say, what do you think? Don't talk about Jesus as an abstraction, as just a process to follow, but what do you think? Where do you stand in regards to me, Pilate? This is a confrontation between Jesus Christ with political power. Pilate represented the Roman Empire, which was the greatest political power the world's ever known up to that time. And the reason why the gospel writers are telling us this in the Gospels, the reason why the Bible highlights this is because it wants to teach us how Christianity relates to power, how it relates to our own kingdom building. Actually, how does Jesus relate to our own little personal kingdoms? How the power play that actually happens in our own lives? When Jesus is asked, "Are you king of the Jews?" Pilate does not actually asking a theological question. He's not actually interested in whether or not Jesus actually is the Messiah, which means the king. He's not actually asking, "Are you a king?" He's actually asking, "Are you threatening my kingdom?" Do you get that? He's asking, are you a political leader? Are you leading a political movement? Are you someone who's trying to undermine Rome's power? Are you trying to undermine my power, undermine my kingdom? Political power has the ability to make people do things, right? If you pass laws, if you enforce laws, you can make people behave through the law. Can't you? Like, if you went out here and you sped down the road as fast as you want, you get a speeding ticket. Like, we have to obey rules. Political office, governing offices make people do things, and that's what political power is all about. But first, Jesus' answer to Pilate is actually really ambiguous. In verse 36, it says here, Jesus says, "No, I'm not a king because I'm not of this world," which would be relieving for Pilate. In verse 37, it switches over and says, "I'm a king and I'm coming into this world." This is deliberately ambiguous because Jesus' answer is so sophisticated. Here's what it is. On one hand, he says, "I'm not a political leader because if I were, my servants would actually fight." Think about that. Like earlier in John, when Jesus fed 5,000 people, what do they do right away after he feeds 5,000 people? "I want to make you king." People want to do that. Could you imagine serving a king who could feed everyone? Sounds like a great king. But Jesus here, when he says, "My servants would fight," he's not just talking about physical aggression. When Jesus says to Peter, "Put your sword down in the garden just a chapter or so away, don't draw your sword in my name," you must keep in mind in the Bible, the word sword means political power. Back in the day, it was the power, the sword was the power of the magistrate to put you in prison, to pass laws, to penalize you if you weren't going to do what the magistrate actually wanted you to do. That's the sword. That was the sword back then. It was actually the political power to put you in prison, to put you to make you obey those laws. But Jesus here isn't saying that. He's actually saying, I'm here to change the way people actually live in the world. Not in an otherworldly sense that Christianity is something that actually gives you peace and joy and meaning in your private life, but actually doesn't affect your whole life. He isn't saying that Christianity is just a thing that is good for your private, personal life. It's actually going to affect the way you live in the world. It's going to affect the way you do everything. That's what Jesus here is talking about. But that's not how we want things, right? We actually like to compartmentalize our faith, right? Like we love the fact that our faith is over here and our personal life's over here, right? Our job, our high school students, it's interesting when we say, hey, what do you guys, could you invite someone out to our youth group, right? It's a simple invite. And some of our students who are our core kids, their friends have no idea they're a Christian, right? You might say, wow, that's crazy. But I think about, do people know I'm a Christian around town? Right? It doesn't mean I'm going around town like yelling out, like I'm a Christian. But people notice you. People notice the things you're doing, the way you're spending your money, the way you're spending your time. A few months ago, actually, I was at Starbucks, and that's like our second office at SCC, if you've noticed that. And I'm there, and someone says, hey, are you going to meet with students today? I said, well, what do you mean if I'm going to meet with students or not? Do you know what I do? And yeah, you're a youth pastor at SCC. Well, I've never told you this. How do you, we live in a small town. People just know what's going on. People notice, right? That's the question is who are you actually bear witnessing to? And Jesus says, I've come to bear witness to the truth. And that actually does mean that it influences the way you live in the world, right? That Jesus' truth about who he is actually influences the way we live in this world, the way we spend our money, the way we spend our time. Jesus says, I'm coming into the world not as a political leader because that's limited in what you can do, right? Just imagine if Jesus actually just became a king on earth. It'd be pretty limited on what he could do on earth. But he's not saying that. He's saying, I'm coming with the truth, and that will really change the way the world's lived, and it did. Why? Because the early church community was shaped by the gospel truth. It's shaped by the gospel, shaped by Christ, and it changed the way the world lived, the way people lived. Then actually, eventually, it changed the whole Roman Empire. Isn't that amazing? I wonder if Pilate could go back and if he could actually see what Jesus would do, would he try to change his verdict? If he knew who Jesus really was, what would he do? That Jesus was a literal threat to the empire, to Rome, to every single nation for the last 2,000 years. Jesus changes people, changes things. In the early church, it changed the way the families were structured, the way women were valued, the way children were valued. It changed the whole empire. If you want to see how much Christianity changed a whole culture, go back and just Google that, how Christianity changed the Roman Empire. Kids had no value in the Roman Empire, right? And a lot of times if you had a baby girl, right, they just place a baby girl in the field and then just walk away, right? Christians saw them there's something wrong here. We can't actually, the way Jesus taught, we can't do that, and actually we have to do something to save those little babies. That changes a whole way of thinking. But here's the thing. At the end of the first interrogation is a famous place where Jesus says, I am the truth. If anyone's for me is on the side of truth. Pilate looks at him, just laughs and says, what is truth? Doesn't stay for an answer. What is he actually saying? Truth? What in the world does truth have to do with power? I don't care about truth. I don't care about theology. All I care about is, are you a threat to my power? What does it actually show? That shows what happens to human heart, and it shows what happens to human heart ordinarily in the presence of power. That we can't see beyond ourselves. That when we're actually confronted with who Jesus really is, a lot of times I want to hold on to my own little world. right? We want to hold on to our own sin. We want to hold on to our own struggle. We want to hold on to our own little kingdom because it's comfortable. You'll hold on to power whether you're getting anything done in your office or not. You'll hold on to power whether you're getting in your family ahead or not. You'll hold on to power whether you decide your ideas work or not. You need the power. We hold on to the power. It serves at an end in itself. Why? Because there's an inner emptiness that only that power and that kingdom building can actually fulfill. You need the honor, you need the glory, and you need to hold on to it no matter what. The question is, whose kingdom are you building? Our own or Christ? Our own kingdom. When we build our own, it looks like self-honor, self-glory, and it builds up pride. Like, we don't do that, right? Like, we don't build up our own kingdom ever. Like, just think about for a second, what do you spend all your time doing? Like, that's convicting for me. Like, what do I spend all my time doing? Right? Like, how do you prioritize your family? I think a lot of times in this world, in this culture, we believe that our family is going to save the world, and it's not. Jesus is. Like, that's that unhealthy view of what our kingdom is. Is it about your hobbies? Is it about your athletics, the sports you're in? You know, I know, I see it with students a lot, that adults who can't actually live the dreams they want to live for their kids. Right? The reality of my kid being like David Beckham or Wayne Gretzky is not going to happen. Like, that'd be cool. It's just not. But I think sometimes we believe this delusion that our kids are going to be the best. Like, I would love to see Beckett and Estelle and Evie just follow Jesus. And whatever they do out of that would be enough. What are you building up? But, you know, our hearts naturally want to build their own kingdom. And Tim Keller, he states that our hearts are idol factories. And actually, what's an idol? An idol is anything that becomes the ultimate thing. That's the way to determine it. What's the thing in your life that becomes the ultimate thing? Is it your family? Is it your hobbies? What is the ultimate thing in your life? But you know, the hard thing is, our culture says these are totally normal things, right? Like to prioritize your family, that's a great, noble thing. To be a moral, good person, that's really great. We're not. We're broken, messed up people. But this world sees it and says, you know what, this is normal. All right? To build your own kingdom, to build the things that you're really good at, that's actually just a normal thing. And just indulge in that. I feel like that more and more with our kids. Like, it's just so natural to want to protect your kids. To pour all your energy and time into your kids, because that's just what our culture talks about. Your meaning in life now is just about having your family and raising your kids and raising good kids, whatever that means. That's not it. That's not Jesus' kingdom. Christ's kingdom is completely different altogether. It isn't of this world. It's subversive, it's countercultural, it's radical. Christ's kingdom is all about humility, sacrifice, and out of that produces joy. Pilate didn't get this, and a lot of people in Jesus' time did not get this. And I pray as a church we would understand what that means. What does it mean to actually not build their own kingdom, but to build Christ's kingdom? The Pharisees, they saw Jesus as a threat to their kingdom, and that's why they wanted to kill him. Right? Jesus was a threat to their moralism. How much, when we're faced with the truth of who Jesus is, you know what? Sometimes I feel like, wow, I'm a pretty good person, and we're doing some pretty good things, but when I read Jesus, I'm like, wow, I really need Jesus to show up. We had a student a few months ago who came here, and she was bouncing around from foster home to foster home, and at the end of one night, she says, you know what? Do you guys believe in all this stuff about Jesus? And I was like, of course we believe this. And she goes, well, like, what's so different about you guys? I said, well, okay, here's the deal, all right? Every single religion says you can do something to attain eternal life. If you just do a little bit more, but Christianity is the only religion in the whole world that says you can't do anything. Jesus did. And she was like, I could just look in her eyes, and she was like, I want that. I want that. Actually, I need that every day. Not just this one-time thing that happened, but I need Jesus every single day. And that's what this girl needed, who was going from foster family, struggling with her identity. But I just feel like she's heard so many times that Christianity is just about moralism. It's just about rules. It's about behavior modification, and that's not it. I remember when I was a young guy, teenager, and I don't think I remember as a kid, I met a few Christians as a kid. I never remember understanding what Christians were for, ever. It was always about what they were against. Right? Like sometimes we're known for all the things that we're against, but we're actually not known for all the things we're for. I remember I met some youth workers in Quesnel, youth pastor and kind of an intern, and they taught me what they were for, and I was like, this is amazing. I want to be a part of this. This is about Jesus, I'm on board. But a lot of times when we make it about rules and about behavior modification, just people rebel against that. And actually, Jesus' truth about who he is comes in face of that. It makes us so angry that we're just not good enough on our own that we actually want to kill him, just like the Pharisees. The governor Pilate didn't understand Jesus' threat to his kingdom. He was totally apathetic. He didn't understand the real implications it would have on his personal kingdom. He didn't care. But here's the thing, Jesus is a threat to all earthly kingdoms. All earthly kingdoms find their source in sinful humanity, but Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. It needs no human defense. Jesus' kingdom of truth represents the lordship of the king over all the lives of people. Martin Luther, Christian reformer, he has this great quote, and he says, I've held many things in my hands, and I've lost them all, but whatever I place in God's hand, I still possess. I love that. I've held many things in my hands, and I've lost them all, but whatever I have placed in God's hand, that I still possess. Whose kingdom are we building? What really matters? Is it our kingdom, or is it Jesus' kingdom? At the end of the interrogation, Jesus says, the reason why I've come to this world is to bear witness for the truth. But how is Jesus going to do that? How is he going to bear witness about the truth? Jesus, by just being a teacher, you must know better than that. At the end of the second interrogation, just in the next chapter, Pilate says, I have the power to crucify you. And what does Jesus say? You only have that power because that's the plan. Pilate, that's the only reason you have that power is because that's the plan. That's how I'm going to bear witness to the truth, is on the cross. You only have power because that's the plan that I die. Do you want to know the Father, the Lord, who actually utterly delights in you, that he's willing to sacrifice everything for you? You see, Jesus Christ, when you see Jesus Christ not only not coming to take power and to take glory, but to empty himself of his glory and empty himself of his power, to die on the cross for you and for me, there and only there will we actually understand the absolute assurance of his delight in you. But Pilate says to him, what's the truth? After he said this, he went back outside and outside to the Jews and told them, I find no guilt in him. Right? What a weasel way that Pilate's actually trying to get out of this. I take some out, I find no guilt. I'm out here. Okay, I'm washing my hands and I'm out of here. But you've accustomed that I should release one man for you at the Passover. So do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? They cried out again, not this man, but Barabbas. And now Barabbas was a robber. I love that. Pilate's asking, what's the truth? And he's faced with it. It's Jesus. The truth is Jesus. And what is he going to do with him? I'm just going to get rid of him. Let somebody else deal with this because this is actually the truth. And I don't want to actually have to deal with this. Eventually, years and years later, Christianity would be the official religion of the Roman Empire. Isn't that kind of ironic? That's how much Jesus would change the whole world, the whole worldview. Pilate finds no threat in Jesus and tries to weasel his way out. Barabbas was released instead of Jesus. And really, it's interesting, right? One son of the Father who was completely guilty, who's a robber, was released. And then one son of the Father who was innocent is condemned to death. Isn't that interesting? Like Barabbas, son of the Father, like that's just, it's very interesting that's in there. One son of the Father who was guilty, who was destined to die, actually was released for freedom. That's the grace of God right there. Here's what Jesus is saying. You don't realize that this is all part of the plan, that if you abuse power, you're just going to bring your own house down. So go ahead, try to destroy me. All you're going to do is put me on a cross and make me the savior of the whole world. All you'll do is put me up here and make me an emblem, a sign, a token of power in the lives of people who are eventually going to turn your entire Roman world upside down. By you abusing your power, you're going to help me show the world what power is really for. It's for giving, it's for serving, it's for sacrificial love. Isn't that an amazing assurance? That God can take the worst things and actually have great outcomes come out of them? It's kind of like in the book of Job, right? Where God only allowed so much bad stuff into Job's life, and it actually accomplished the exact opposite of what Satan wanted. The exact opposite. But here's what Christ is talking about. If God gives anyone the power to do something bad to you, serve, love, and follow Jesus, because in the end, it's going to accomplish the very opposite of what the person really wants to do. When it comes to building kingdoms, we just naturally want to build our own kingdom. That's what we do. You know, that's the reason why we need church. That's why the reason why we need life groups is to say, whose kingdom are we really actually building? We need that. I need that every week as like a coming together to say, wow, I really need to build more of Christ's kingdom in my life, in this community, in this church, in this town. That's what we need as a church. We desperately need this. Jesus is asking, whose power are you going to rest in? Is it going to be your own power, or is it going to be Christ's? In a few weeks, on March 8th, we actually have an opportunity for baptism so people can be baptized. And what a cool declaration baptism is, to say my allegiance is no longer for this kingdom, but actually it's for Christ's kingdom. What a cool way to show the whole world, you know, I'm going to be symbolizing Christ's death and his resurrection. That's fantastic. What a declaration to this town, to this church. It's pretty cool to see students, when we work with students, really grasp this concept of obedience, right? When they actually see, wow, I can actually live out a missional kingdom in this world, in my high school. It's awesome. Sometimes I think as adults, we get off mission, or we get insecure, we get scared to actually build Christ's kingdom. We get freaked out. It's too risky for us. One of the things we're trying to work on is we want to see, there's a series called Youth Alpha Film Series, and we've been actually kind of pitching it to our students to do it in their high schools. And so by the end of the year, we'd love to actually have it run in both high schools at the same time for students to come know Christ. Yeah, to see our students in our town declare who Jesus is, whose kingdom they're actually trying to build up. I really wrestle sometimes. I wonder, as a church, you know, if people really knew what we were passionate about, if they really knew what we spent our time doing, what would people say about us? Whose kingdom are we really building here? Is it Christ's or is it ours? And actually, if we're building our own kingdom, all you have to do is read the Bible and be really offended what Jesus says, because it comes right against our own kingdom. You read the Gospels, and it's all about Jesus talking about following him. What's the cost of discipleship? I love a passage in Scripture, which we never use in church, right? Where it's like, you know, if you want to follow me, you have to hate your father, mother, children, follow me. Like, that's a crazy passage. Like that's the cost of following Christ, that he has to be the first thing and the only thing. But sometimes we just make him a part of our lives, right? Don't we just make him like a building block in living a better life right now? My hope and prayer as a church that we'd actually grasp what it means to build God's kingdom. That we'd actually understand what does it mean to build Christ's kingdom. The people in our town would be radically changed because Christ's kingdom was being built. And so I'm just going to pray, and the band's going to come back up and lead us in worship wherever they are. At the end of the service, you feel like really convicted, like, wow, you know what? I feel like maybe I've been drifting. I've actually drifted away, and I haven't been actually building Christ's kingdom. Like, we'd love to pray for you. We'd love to pray for you to see you back on mission. We'd love to help you get there. I'm just going to pray, and then we'll continue on. So, God, I thank you for the fact that you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to live, to die, to rise again for us. That you delighted in us so much that you sent your Son. A Son of the Father who is blameless, who is destined to die. God, I think of these two people in this passage, the Pharisees, and how they're so angry that that you came against their morals, that their religiosity, God, that you, I pray that you'd show us, you show me how often do I turn to these religious ways about being just a better person, about being more moral. But God, I pray that I know the truth, and that's you. I pray that you'd show a desire to know the truth every day. God, I pray that you convict us of our sin, that you show us where in our lives that we're actually trying to build our own kingdom. Is it our kids? Is it our careers? Is it our hobbies? God, what is it that we're actually trying to build up? God, I pray we give you all these things. I pray we build your kingdom. I pray we'd see this church, this town. I pray we'd see our lives completely changed by you in Jesus' name. Amen.